So what's up, y'all? So here's where I want to go first. If you really want to be able to beat South Carolina, you're not going to be able to beat them like right away. It's not going to at this juncture in time. It's not going to happen. Plenty of teams would love to. Plenty of teams would love to ascend to the Final Four in the national championship game. Many teams would come across, say, South Carolina and feel like they got a great chance. And there are teams, don't get me wrong, there are teams, UConn, USC, there's definitely teams that are capable. But my thing here is, and y'all stick with me, it's not about now. It's about what you do to set your program up in the future to be able to compete against a juggernaut like South Carolina. So as to where years pass, I would say this team got a great chance of beating South Carolina, say USC, Texas, Notre Dame, UCLA. Now, I'm feeling like, lest you prove it, I don't want to hear it. So suppose you prove it if you say you're going to beat South Carolina. And I'm talking about during the course of the tournament as well. Because, Tennessee almost beat South Carolina in the SEC tournament. Of course they did not, and almost don't count, like that old Brandy song from 1998 off of Never Say Never album. So as I look at this, as I dissect this, it's not about the present. No, it's about, can you recruit? That's the key word to this entire video. Can you recruit and build relationships with top-notch talent that you recruit? You don't just want to recruit. You got to make sure the fit is right. You got to make sure that the recruit understands what it takes to sacrifice. You got to understand from the coaching and the team staff perspective, as well as the incoming recruits perspective of what's required from them. You want to treat them with kindness, fairly, and with respect, but you also want to demand the absolute most from the player. And you got to have them buy into total unselfishness and winning at all costs, no matter what it takes. And you have to be able to translate that and pass that down to multiple top-notch quality recruits. It's an absolute necessity. There's nothing wrong with being a coach who entertains and wins in the transfer portal. The portal is big news. It's one of the most, how can I say this about the transfer portal? It's unlike anything else. It is such a huge, monumental part of when the season concludes. The players jumping into the portal, which is all fine and dandy, but there's something about that, for lack of better phrasing, homegrown talent. There's something about knowing that you want to recruit a player, setting out to, and actually doing so, and not just recruiting one player that's very talented and highly skilled, but getting multiple top-notch recruiting talent. And then one of the hardest steps there is making it all mesh together. So, see, that's what I'm driving at for the most part here. You want to be South Carolina, or you want to be whoever's at the top, but in order to do so, you're going to have to really dig deep. You're going to have to get not just skilled and talented recruits. You got to make these players buy in. You got to make them become the ultimate team. So, that's, to me, I think until you see a coach who can not just get top level talent, until you can see somebody who's able to bring in so much talent and make it work together, and sacrifices and unselfishness is a huge part of the plan. I just don't think anybody knocks off South Carolina, not as long as Coach Don Staley is there, because it's more than just, shout out when I was in the live earlier in Sets Talk Sports Live, she was basically, elaborating like, hey, it's not just that Dawn brings in superior talent. It's that she makes it, all work together. She makes these players have, the ultimate love for each other and the ultimate sacrifice. So, you know, in order to try to even say, yeah, we going to beat South Carolina, you it's so much you got to do. You got to recruit great. You have to teach great. You have to get players to sacrifice. You have to be able to put all of this talent together in one room and on the court, and on the bench, and be able to get them to understand the ultimate sacrifice, and it's about winning. Because so many players, they are great in their own right, and they get their stats, and they even get the wins for their team, but can they get the championship? Can they get the championship? So Caitlin, it's unfortunate, but she left college without a championship. There's plenty of time for Juju Watkins to come up with a championship, but it's going to take more than Juju and Kiki, and I know they got a deep team, and I know they have a great recruiting class, and we'll see what transpires there. But you're not going to get, and for me, that's what made, as an Iowa fan, that's what made the Caitlin Clark led victory over South Carolina in the Final Four so special, because you just don't beat South Carolina every season. It just don't happen that way. This is a truly dominant program when we look at South Carolina, truly prominent program. And, if you don't feel that way, then, you're not being honest and real with yourself. You got to be honest and real with yourself. South Carolina fans, they get to pop their S. They totally get to pop their S because, their winning record says that they should. The track record says that they should. The championship stated they should. The recruits that they get, the fabulous teams that they have, the WNBA players that they produce. South Carolina fans should be able to pop their S. Absolutely. And if you don't know what S means, I'm abbreviating a profanity word. So, obviously. But yeah, I just wanted to drop in, and I want to put this video out. And I guess for me, the biggest reason I wanted to put this video out is because I just wanted to go a little bit further than surface level about, what? You want to beat this team, you got to plan for it years out. Because the way this team is set up, this South Carolina team, and as you can see, Don just continues to bring in fabulous recruits and make it all work. But, the Chloe kids, Malaysia Fulwiley, Tessa Johnson, Raven Johnson, Joyce Edwards, Sanaa Effect, man, a handful. This team is a handful, absolutely. And that's putting it lightly. This team is out for blood, and they're not satisfied. They got one championship, and they're definitely not satisfied. So be on the lookout. And just know, trying to beat South Carolina, it's a multiple-year build. It's not something like, I'm going to win it this year, I'm going to win it next year. Unless we get a David versus Goliath scenario, like Iowa and South Carolina, I don't foresee it. And that's why with Iowa and even with UCLA, I'm looking at the recruiting class very closely. I really am. Watching it very closely to see, are we just going to put, a few 4 and 5 star players together? Or are we going to get some of the best players? And then are we going to be able to get them in and make them all buy in? And this year's Iowa recruiting class, number 9, yeah. And next year's is going to be awesome. But again, just because you have the players, that doesn't mean everything. You got to make it all work together. You got to bring it all together like fine seasoning and a great holiday dish. So with that being said, RC is out. Like the video, subscribe, share, comment, and I'll check y'all on the next one. Y'all don't mind me. I'm just talking ball. I'm out.